We acknowledge that the land of Takaranto that we are standing on today is the territory of many First Nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron, Inuit, and Métis people, and that our existence in this place would not have been possible without their influence. These First Nations used the land of Takaranto for transportation, travel, trade, hunting, and living. We affirm the rights under Treaty 13 made between the First Nations and the Crown to respect the traditions, sovereignty, culture, and language of all First Nations on this land. We are dedicated to honoring the relationship between these First Nations and the land that One Up and Urban Mind are founded on. We will actively preserve the land for future generations and will be an ally in supporting Indigenous rights and sovereignty.
So first, let's start off with an icebreaker. Right here we have a Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs mood board, which in each number indicates an emotion that one might be feeling up today. So in the chat, I'd like everyone to type in a number indicating how they feel today. So first there's Snow White, second there's Doc, 3 is Sleepy, 4 is Bashful, 5 is Happy, 6 is Sneezy, 7 is Grumpy, and 8 is Dopey. Sleepy always? Okay, lots of sleepies. 5? 5 is good. Does anyone want to explain why they feel that way? Craving fruit, me too. Alright, I think that wraps up our icebreaker. For one, I'm feeling a bit sneezy because my friend got sick the other day, and now I feel myself getting a bit sick as well. So let's move on. Now, we would like to welcome our guest speaker, Nicole Roach, Director of Sustainable Mobility at Green Communities Canada. Nicole is an experienced project and program manager, having led provincial and national initiatives related to commuting behaviors, children's mobility, and community outreach. Most notably, Nicole led the annual Commuter Challenge event in Manitoba, founded Women in Urbanism Canada, managed the Ontario Active School Travel Program, and coordinated the National School Travel Data Collection Pilot. In Nicole's role, she acts as the project manager on numerous large-scale community mobility projects, including the management of the school travel planning program in Toronto, the coordination of the Canadian Electric School Bus Alliance, and the management of the National Active School Streets Initiative. Now let's welcome Nicole Roach to the stage.
Thanks so much for the introduction. I will work on sharing my screen and getting us started. Does that look okay? Yep. Okay, great. Remind me how much time I have. I didn't time it out. Well, someone can give me a nudge in the chat if I am running too long and I'm screwing up the schedule. But I can get started. My presentation today is on building safer school areas. I'll be talking about creating healthier, happier, and safer communities. So on the agenda today, I'll be doing some introductions about Green Communities Canada and our programs. I'll talk about active school travel and safer school areas, covering some of the benefits and also talking about why it matters. Then I'll go into different ways that we support active journeys. So this is mostly through school travel planning and then also some policies and programs. And then to conclude, I'll talk about some of the things that all of you can do and share some inspiration, resources, and some of my contact information if you want to talk to me after this. So introductions, I think myself, I was already covered. So Green Communities Canada, if you're not familiar with us, we've been around for a while, since the 90s, and we're a national environmental nonprofit organization and charity. And most of our work connects community-based climate action groups through a national network. So we have members that we collaborate with from coast to coast. And our program areas mostly focus on energy efficiency in homes. We also do really cool green infrastructure projects. And then my department, sustainable mobility. So in our department, our three core programs right now are school travel planning, the Canadian Electric School Bus Alliance, and the recently announced National Active School Streets Initiative. So today I'll be talking about school travel planning quite a bit. I'll touch on school streets a little. So I'll just share the Canadian Electric School Bus Alliance. It's a partnership between Green Communities Canada and Equiterre, another nonprofit based in Quebec. And together we try to advocate for the acceleration of electric school bus adoption across the country. So a lot of it is policy, research, and government relations oriented. But besides that, most of our work focuses on active school travel. So what is that? Active school travel, we typically call this AST. This involves children and youth traveling to and from school using active modes of transportation. This can be walking, wheeling, cycling, scootering, skateboarding, skiing, any kinds of active modes. And the programming that we do really seeks to normalize active journeys and also try to improve the safety and convenience for families that live within walking or wheeling distance to their schools. So it's not focused on kids that are being bused from really far. It's really the ones that are close enough to be able to choose active school travel. And some of the benefits generally results in healthier students because they're getting more physical activity, less traffic and air pollution, also noise pollution around the schools and in the community, safer school zones, really important. And then also through increased physical activity, we also see better academic performance. It's not listed here, but greenhouse gas emissions reductions is another really big one, among many other benefits around community cohesion and people feeling healthier, happier, and more connected. So why does active school travel or safer school zones matter? That's a big thing is that recently across Canada, the proportion of children and youth that are walking or wheeling to school has fallen dramatically, whereas we see the percentage of kids that are being driven by private vehicle is higher than ever before. So maybe you heard it from your parents' generation. They walked, 4 miles both ways through snowstorms, and not as many of us are doing that these days. So making school areas safer is a really key component of helping to reverse this trend and encourage more kids to not be driven in a car and walk or wheel instead if they're able to. And another important component of safer school areas is to also try to reduce traffic violence. So a lot of it is focused on students that currently walk or wheel to school. Some of them do it because they love it. Some of them maybe don't have other options. Their parents may not own a vehicle. They may not be able to drive them to and from school. And so how we've built our urban environments, it's very car dominant, with private vehicles being supreme in many circumstances. And this has left a lot of other road users as vulnerable. You may have heard the term vulnerable road users. Bit of a controversial term. Some people don't like to use it, but I think the domination of vehicles have made other groups vulnerable. So what we see, we have too many vehicles that are way too big and going too fast. This can create really unsafe environments for students on their way to school. And this is especially true in equity-deserving communities. In these areas, there are typically more students that are walking or cycling to school. And then we also see that the infrastructure is usually not there to really support that safely. So fortunately, there can be, really devastating consequences if our school areas are not built to support kids walking and cycling. So I've, I don't mean to scare anyone, but I just wanted to provide a bit of context that what we're talking about is pretty serious. We try to make things as fun as possible, but it is really serious. Like kids being killed or seriously injured on their way to and from school is really just unacceptable. Or children dying because of traffic violence anywhere is unacceptable and avoidable. So, going through some of these that are near Toronto and Greater Toronto area, like 5-year-old, 4-year-old, 6-year-old, and some examples of high school students too. And then, we also see seniors, people of any age, dying in our streets. And again, this is avoidable and really important that we take action on this issue. So, people are listening, people do care. There is an initiative in Toronto for Vision Zero. They've been making significant progress on the installation of school safety zones. This includes watch your speed signs, improved pavement markings, flashing beacons, and other improvements. So they've been rolling this out across the city. But we still really have a long way to go before we can consider school areas to be safe for students walking and wheeling. And I also want to raise that kids don't just exist in front of schools or on the way to school. Kids exist everywhere, and it's really important that they're also safe in front of their home or walking to the park or visiting friends or really anywhere else. So, we are talking about school areas today, but just want to provide that broader context that our streets just need to be safe everywhere for everyone. So yeah, we're working on it. So these are some of the things that Green Communities Canada and some of our other partners do to support active and safe journeys. So the big one I'll talk about today is our school travel planning program. We've been doing this program in Toronto, in Ottawa, in Durham region, and a few other places since the early 2000s. So we have a few decades working on this stuff. So it's a community-based model that's meant to address traffic safety concerns and try to reduce barriers to active school travel. And so we work with the school board and they assign us a school, and then we go into that school community and we collaborate really closely with the principal, vice principal, teachers, parents and caregivers. We work with transportation services at the city, public health nurses, transportation consortia, school trustees, city councilors, and other community members. So it is really community-based grassroots kind of thing to try to get some improvements. And we work through 5 phases over 2 years. So in the first year, that's our really intense phase of things. We are connected with the school and we do a kickoff meeting. Then we go to the school and walk around to conduct a site audit. So we look at, the accessibility of the building, how kids are getting to into the various entrances, where's the drop-off space, where's the school bus loading zone, what do the intersections look like around the school? And then we're also trying to observe the behavior. So trying to see if drivers are breaking a lot of rules or not looking, or if kids are running across the street because there isn't a crosswalk for them. And so we're documenting, if they have bike racks, if they don't, just all of the things about that school. And then we establish a committee with a lot of the different actors I just mentioned. We also conduct some data collection. So we send out a survey to parents and caregivers for them to fill out to tell us about some of the safety concerns they have around the school. And we also try to do hands-up surveys in schools where we ask the kids how they got to school that day. So we also have some travel mode data. Then we host an introductory committee meeting. And then one of the most fun things we do is called a neighborhood walkabout, where we bring that whole committee together and we observe the traffic and we walk around the school and we talk about what the problem is, what could potentially be done to fix it. And we have a big debrief meeting and we try to figure out all the problems and the answers. So those are, yeah, really, really interesting to be part of. Lots of issues and lots of ideas for how to solve them. And then we turn that into a plan. So it's called an action plan. And I'll go into that in a bit more detail on the next slides. And then we spend the second year of the program working on implementing some of those action plan items. And so really trying to make a difference in that school community. Some things are easier to accomplish than others. So we do a lot of encouragement stuff, and engineering stuff is very important, but takes quite a bit longer. So that's the overview. And so action planning that I mentioned, after we've assessed all the conditions, then we work together with the community to develop a plan. And we sort these actions based on priority level, so short, medium term, and long term. And we also focus on an E, I'll get to that on the next slide, to improve student travel conditions at the school. So we identify an action item, we identify associated tasks, we identify who's supposed to be moving that forward, and then we also track progress on if we're getting things done over the years. And so our E's, this is an approach that is pretty well established, I think, within the active transportation field, and especially in active school travel. So it's most commonly the 5 E's approach, but we did recently update this to add a few E's. So now it is our 7 E's approach. And we think this is really important to take a holistic approach to school travel planning. So then our actions are covering multiple components to affect change. So this includes education. So that could be like learn how to bike workshops or like bike maintenance type things, or like walking or transit education skills training. Encouragement, these could be really fun events or contests or signage or different things to raise awareness. Engineering, it's the physical changes that can be done to the school environment. Lots of things that can be done. Enforcement, we've marked this as optional. So that can be like community-based enforcement or sometimes policing if that's what the community wants. Evaluation, just to get a better understanding of the school environment. Some of it we do through the program ourselves. And then engagement and equity are really meant to be central components to all of the other E's. So when implementing any of that, then we're thinking about how we're engaged in the community and how we're applying an equity lens to that work. So, as I said, some of the things are hard to implement because we are working with so many different actors and things can be really slow to get things done. But over the years, we've accomplished a few things. We've gotten some cool road markings, some sidewalk stencils, wayfinding signage, some zebra crosswalks. We've also been able to host some active transportation rodeos, cycling safety and bike maintenance education events. We've submitted a ton of requests for school crossing guards, and sometimes they have been awarded. And then we've also made some recommendations in our action plans, and the city has adopted them in some places. So we're working more and more closely with the city, so we hope to have more and more tangible accomplishments soon. But I keep saying it's a slow process to affect change in this area. And so some things that can help are policies and programs. So for policies, really important to have policies at the school level, board, consortia, municipal, regional, and provincial levels that support active school travel. Schools sometimes feel like a very messy space because we have one issue and they say, oh, that's the city, or another issue and they say that's the board, or there's another issue and then that's the province. So it's a lot easier if all of those actors are on the same page and supporting active school travel through established policies and strategies. So a few years ago, we developed a really big policy recommendations report, and we have some well-researched recommendations related to planning, infrastructure, school sites, student transportation, and school travel planning. So policy isn't always super exciting, but if anyone is interested in learning about what can be done at the policy level, maybe there's some ideas that you could bring forward to your school. That is available on our website. And we also have some advocacy assets that the Center for Active Transportation made for us. So those can be used on social media to help advocate for certain policies. So it might be worth checking those out. And I'll highlight some programs. So some of these we do, some of these we support other communities to do. These are just some of my favorites. So the first one is school streets. So school streets are very fun, very good. Love school streets. They create temporary car-free environments in front of schools, usually at drop-off and or pickup time. So we previously helped support the Ontario School Streets pilot, where we tested 4 school streets in Hamilton, Markham, Mississauga, and Kingston. And we recently got funding from the federal government to lead a national school streets initiative. So we're going to be rolling out school streets in over 20 communities across the country, and those will be ranging from 1 week to 1 full year. And we have participating communities across from coast to coast. So it's very exciting. If you like school streets, then there may be a school street near you soon. And if not, then they're also, communities organize them themselves without any funding. So if that's an initiative you want to take on, then I definitely encourage it. We have lots of guides and toolkits online to help. We also have a bike bus, sometimes also called bike train. This is made up of a group of students, sometimes with parents and caregivers who regularly cycle to school together. So bike buses are really popular for young kids, but for older students, it's sometimes fun to just bike to and from school together, because there's always just strength in numbers for these kinds of things. So we've seen some really great bike buses happening in Toronto, Waterloo, St. John's, London, Hamilton, and they're really picking up steam across the country. Wayfinding is another program or intervention. So some of this can be sidewalk art or street signs, banners, lawn signs, interactive games, and a lot more. So for young kids, it's pretty cute to put like stencils of like different animals' footprints or like hopscotch or different activities. And I guess for older students, they still like fun stuff like that too, but it's very practical to say like how far away school is if you're walking or wheeling. Helps to just make it more normalized and approachable. Another program or specific engineering intervention is traffic calming. So these are tactics to help improve safety by reducing vehicle speeds, because we know sometimes reducing speed limits don't always help, and we need actual engineering interventions to help slow the vehicles down. So it can be like physical interventions, but it could also be like trees or just having like people on the sidewalk or things being active can also help help slow vehicles down. But some of the specific interventions are speed humps, speed cushions, speed bumps, bulb outs I really like. They extend the curb, so then there's less space to cross. Chicanes are also cool. They make vehicles kind of alternate to slow them down. And there's lots more really cool stuff being done in Canada. Montreal is doing awesome stuff on this than I saw recently, but there's great traffic calming initiatives across the country. And cycling skills training is next. So it's really just teaching kids safe cycling skills so they can feel confident to ride their bikes. So there are some pretty good programs in Toronto for that and other communities. And so we also like when those are paired with kids being provided with bikes whenever possible. And yeah, just learning the rules of the road so then they feel comfortable and that their parents feel more comfortable letting them bike to and from school. And sometimes this is paired with pedestrian skills training for younger children. And then also there's a great initiative that's also working on teaching public transit skills to children and youth. So then they feel more comfortable riding the city bus once they kind of graduate from using the school bus. So I'm already at my conclusion here. So it's yeah, it's kind of tough out there to make change happen, and it can feel, I'm sure, very hard as a high school student to actually make change happen. This is my full-time job, and it still feels really hard to make change happen. So some of the things I encourage you to do is to just really look around your school and neighborhood. I feel like once you start looking at the urban design or the streets or how people are driving, then you can't look at your street the same way after you start thinking about it in that way. So think about, are there any streets or intersections or entrances that look or feel unsafe? Like really check in with your feelings. Are there any areas where you see drivers not following the rules of the road, or even people walking not following, or people biking not following the rules? There's usually some poor engineering reasons that people are behaving a certain way. You can also collaborate with your classmates, teachers, and school admin to try to identify some of those problems, collaboratively discuss some potential solutions, and then if you've got a really good idea, then you can escalate that to your trustee or city councilor and see what can be done about that. I'd encourage you to try to focus on a few quick wins. So that can be tactical urbanism, like quick interventions to just show that it's a great change, and then hopefully it can be made permanent. Paint is a really good strategy to help with that. It's relatively cheap and easy to try to make some changes there. So just focus kind of what's in your control to affect change, and to also really try to be patient while working towards the big wins, like a bike lane. Like it can take years and years for those big interventions to take place. So just do the best you can and keep up the fight, and hopefully these things will move faster, but right now things move really slow. So we got to keep the pressure on and be patient and be supportive of more action. So I'll just share one example of inspiration. We got to talk to a great high schooler, Braden Peterson. He was a student at Bill Hogarth Secondary School. He's since graduated, but he really served as inspiration for his classmates for cycling to school. He gave it a try, and he was posting really frequently about that there's full bike racks and encouraging other students to bike. They had some infrastructure improvements around the school, so it was a really great timing to bring out new cyclists. So even if it's as simple as talking to your friends or getting them to bike together to and from school, that's really great way to get more kids riding. And there's so many resources online, but I think the best resource I can share is the Youth Active School Travel Toolkit. This was developed by the town of Ajax and J. Pitter Placemaking. And this was created for youth to champion and advocate for active school travel in their communities. So you can Google it, or it's right on the town of Ajax website. So that was made exactly for you folks. So I encourage you to check that one out. And that's it for me today. So thanks for listening. You can learn more at greencommunitiescanada.org. And we have other websites called Ontario Active School Travel and schooltravel.ca. So all of those can be reached through our main website. And if you want to talk to me beyond this session today, then I can also be reached via email at nroach@greencommunitiescanada.org. So I will conclude, and then I think we have an interactive activity next.
Thank you, Nicole, for that wonderful presentation. As you know, we'll be moving on to our interactive activity. I think there should be a Jamboard link in the chat. So if that can be added and everyone can join and share their ideas.
So I think the concept was to collectively look at a school, and people can watch me play play around in Google Maps to look at a school, and then we'll break out into breakout rooms, or maybe it can be done in this room, for us to try to take a shot at this action planning activity that we do as part of school travel planning. So yeah, we can look at the school site together using Google Maps, and then talk through some of the issues and some potential solutions. So the school we have chosen today is White Oaks Secondary School in Oakville. And we have a few students on the call from there. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but would you want to start by telling us about your school or some of the traffic safety problems? And then I can try to show those specifically, and we can talk through those different intersections or those problem areas.
I can start. I also have another member that's a part of White Oaks and she can add on later on. So the thing about our school is that we have two campuses separated by north and south. And a big problem with transportation is that we have a crosswalk where traveling from north to south usually has a lot of problems because we have a lot of people at our school, and many times kids don't look at the traffic lights and just cross whenever there are no cars. But sometimes it has caused problems as like cars pass by very quickly and some students don't notice that they might be coming. So that's the main issue with our school.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to add that I actually walk to school every day, but there's so many schools nearby, yet there's no crosswalk from one um you have to walk a really long time to find a crosswalk. So then a lot of times kids will just jaywalk, and then it just worsen the traffic again because like especially in the morning it's very busy and there's a lot of cars dropping off, and it's just if they let the kids jaywalk, then it holds back the traffic, and then it just makes everything slower and dangerous.
Yeah, those are really common issues. Um, yeah, it can create a lot of problems. Um, okay, it'd be okay if I was just adding comments to the wrong Jamboard. Okay, we're all in number one. Um, okay, I will put these sticky notes in the right places, and then I will maybe share my screen, and we can look at the school and talk through some of the things, and hopefully people can add sticky notes as they're observing some of the issues. Okay, are folks seeing Google Maps here? Okay, so I think I'm in the right place. But one of the first things I see here is this is a bike lane, but it is a Sharo bike lane. So it's protected with paint, which, as we know, isn't very protective. There's no barrier between people cycling and cars. So I would consider that a challenge. This looks like a bus stop right here. I'm seeing that there's no shelter, which could maybe be nicer for people waiting for the bus. It also doesn't look like there's a lot of space for people to stand. So I don't know if a lot of students take the bus, but could imagine that that is not a very nice place to wait if it's raining. There's also nowhere to sit. So it seems like that could be quite a bit nicer. Um, I'm also seeing here, it looks like vehicles would exit here. Um, but I'm seeing there isn't a stop sign for those vehicles to stop. So if students are walking across this sidewalk, vehicles may just speed right through if they aren't being made to stop. So, a stop sign there, or maybe making this a raised crosswalk could help with that. Okay, this is a pretty wide open road. It's like this is another school across the way. Okay, this, like, I'm not sure what the speed limit is on this street, but to me, this looks like a very wide open road, and I imagine that vehicles could go quite fast on this road. Yeah. Okay, maybe I'll turn around and go the other direction, or can let me know if there's a specific intersect. I can go, uh, oh, oops. Um, is there a specific area I should look at? Um, like where's the intersection that was being mentioned that causes trouble?
I think it was where you were just now. If you just went down the road a bit, right beside the school, it should be our other campus. Like,
Yeah, I think you should go to the Gaeton Chevret public school. So there's the Montclair one, but then up there, yeah.
Does not? Okay.
So around there, if you drop off, yeah. And then if you keep going forward a few times.
Oh, we turned to winter. Okay.
And yeah, one more. This is like the crosswalk.
Okay. So to give some credit here, there is like I think it's called a pedestrian island. That might be the wrong name. So that is a good intervention. So then students do have like two spaces to cross instead of crossing the whole street. So that is positive. But what were you saying is the issue with this crosswalk in particular?
I think it's mostly the students that don't look at the lights and just run across
Ah,
when,
mm-hmm,
yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to fix that. Um, mhm, yeah. Well, again, at least there's the thing in the middle to make it a bit safer to do that. Um, or it could make it, mm, uh, is it, do you know if this is a beg button? Like um, if people would need to hit a button to trigger the crosswalk? Okay. Well, yeah, there could be interventions where it's during um during drop off or pickup time that it's more automated. Um because it's probably students don't want to stand there and wait and they just go. So maybe if it was more frequent. Um okay. Anyone else, like I know for some folks, if you haven't seen this school before, it might be hard if you don't know how people are using this space. But if there's any observations you're seeing, then definitely feel free to put it on the Jamboard or put it in the chat, so we can talk about it. Okay, and then this is school entrance, I assume. Okay. Hmm.
I think through here you can go to the library, so it kind of loops around, and then where you said there wasn't a stop sign, that's how like they come out.
Okay. So is this like full at
There's actually somewhere more like this is not like the main drop off area.
okay.
If you look at like so on the south, yeah, keep going forward, I guess. Um, Also, yeah, this is the library, but if you keep going forward quite a bit, actually, um, it's like the south main drop-off area, and there's also like a loop where they can do that. Well, in the morning they only let like buses go around that loop. Um, but
Okay.
over there, there's like really a lack of like crosswalk, so just like
Mm.
everyone kind of has to like jaywalk if they want to get to the school.
Okay. I'll go to that next. I guess something I'm seeing here is that there is a bit of a path or sidewalk, and then it just ends. And so you can see that people are still using this, that people still want somewhere to walk. So that's quite unfortunate. I'm sure some of them just move right into the road, and that's kind of the same on the other side. People are walking down here. These are called desire lines that people want a sidewalk there. And I guess we saw a few people that were just walking through the parking lot because there also isn't really a designated place for them to walk. Looking at the bike parking. So you can also see there are some bikes up against a sign. So that maybe means that there isn't enough bike parking. And we also see that bike parking is pretty wide open. So there's no protection if it rains, all those bikes get really wet. There's also not much security here. No lighting. So there's some room for improvement for the bike rack. Okay, I'll zoom out again to look for the roundabout. Is this the roundabout that we were just in? Okay. Is this another roundabout
Oh,
that
sorry, not
you were
the one we're
mentioning?
just in, like the one I was talking about.
Okay, so this is the one to go to next.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Ah, okay, they won't let me go in the roundabout, but I can go on the street. Okay, so we see some residential here. Okay, so you said this is where vehicles are coming in and out, or this was buses?
In the morning, only buses.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of time I'd be like on the other side, so like where the houses are, and then
Hmm.
if I want to cross, I either walk like all the way until the intersection over there
Wow.
or all the way to the intersection over this
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Okay, so this way there's no intersection anywhere in view. And then this one, you can kind of see two stop signs way in the background there. Um, so yeah, I also wouldn't walk that far either if I'm right across the school. And then for students crossing, then how do they get to school? Like, where's the sidewalk leading to the main entrance? Is this a sidewalk? That's, oh, what is that? Just the platform?
I think like under there's a hole, so then the water can pass.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so
All
there's no
right.
sidewalk really leading to the school except for this one.
This one. Okay. Yeah, but there's no crosswalk to get people to use to get here. Hmm. Okay.
I'm sorry, I think we can move to the Q&A for now.
Yeah, sure. Was there much activity in the breakout room? I can only see the uh okay, great. Thanks folks for adding stuff to the Jamboard there.
All right, so moving on to the Q&A, I think Katie, before she left, she had a question in the chat. Uh, it should be, what is an active transportation rodeo?
Yes, good question. The term rodeo is actually a term that we're trying to get away from because of some harmful colonial context, but that's still kind of the common term. It's just a fun name, of oh, should I just write it in the chat or should I keep trying to talk? Oh, no, sorry, that was to everyone, not to me. Sorry. Yeah, active transportation rodeo, it's like a bunch of different activities happening, kids running through different different activities like different oh wow, the words are really not coming to me, but like I don't know, going over not jumps, but going over things, going in between pylons, doing like bike helmet fitting or adjustments or like bike repairs or practicing their like hand signals. So it's kind of just an overarching term to say a whole bunch of activities going on at once, so to say. Okay, great. I'm just catching up with the discussions here.
I think we have two another questions in the chat.
I think the first one from Jor, or is that a question? Okay, I think the slowdown signs you mentioned implementing are really cool. Do you have any data on if that affected the amount of accidents in the area? Trying to remember where I mentioned that. Slowdown signs. If it's just like signs like yard signs encouraging drivers to slow down, I would say that they probably don't have much of an impact on reducing the amount of collisions in the area. I think they're really just trying to raise awareness to drive slower, or I don't know, pay more attention to their surroundings, but I think that's generally not as effective as engineering solutions or other things. So, signs are one of those quick win kind of things. So you have the resources to do them, then I definitely encourage it, but they probably aren't going to be the most effective intervention.
And the last question we have, what has been your favorite project throughout your career?
Well, I really love school streets is probably what I'm most excited about. A lot of my work I do remotely, but for school streets, I've been able to be there physically. I got to go to the one in Mississauga. I got to go to one in Vancouver. I've also been lucky to see school streets in Paris and other places in Europe. So I've been involved in coaching people on how to do school streets, and they're amazing and so magical when you get to see them in person. Yeah, I really love anything that is getting kids to take over the streets, and it's kind of flipping expectations on their head. Even though I love them so much, there's still a ton of pushback. People are very upset anytime that their right to drive anywhere they want is compromised. So they're still challenging to implement, but I think there's really big payoff with those interventions.
Thank you, Nicole, for sharing. I really liked your presentation and also the site analysis of our school. I think we should definitely implement some of those ideas and recognize more of those problems to the students. So now we will be moving on to the trivia prize. So before we start, I just want to remind everyone that the prize for winning first place will be a choice of your gift card, choosing from Visa, Starbucks, or Amazon, and it's a $20 gift card. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so there should be a WooClap QR code, or you can just go to the website and enter the event code.
Has everyone been able to join? Or if not, just drop a message in the chat. Okay, I'll get started. So for the first question, which of the following options are not part of the 7 E's? 1. Engineering, 2. Enforcement, 3. Environment, and 4. Engagement. correct answer was environment. And oh, seems like most of you guys got it. So just a little recap. These are the 7 E's. And next question, which active school travel program does this image depict? So we have cycling skills training, school streets, bike bus, or wayfinding. Amazing. And next question, what are benefits of active school travel? Select all that apply. So build relationship with the community, it's environmentally friendly, safer school zones, healthier students, or better academic performance. All right, it was actually all of the above. And this next one, you have to match the traffic calming engineering measure to its name. Well, on your screen, you should be able to see these images, but I'll click into them too. Yeah, this one's a little tricky because the speed bumps and the speed cushion look really similar. And traffic calming, as a reminder, is engineering intervention that helps to improve safety by reducing vehicle speeds. And finally, last question, what are actions you can take? Select all that apply. So 1, identify problems and brainstorm potential solutions to escalate with trustee or counselor. 2, cycle, wheel, walk to school to normalize active traveling. 3, take transit or carpool to school. And 4, look for local programming that support ASD. Amazing. So I guess now we can announce the winners. Oh, so congratulations to George for being in first place. And more details on the prize we'll be sending you through email that you put in your registration.
Congratulations, George. Just a reminder that from attending this webinar, you are able to receive 1 volunteer hour for your high school volunteers. Please email your volunteer form to hello@urbanminds.co, which is the email before September 25th. That's 1 week from now to have your form signed. Our next upcoming event entails our second OneUp Connect webinar for our 2024/2025 program year. This webinar will take place on October 9th from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m., which is on a Wednesday, like today. We will have our guest speaker, Neil Lowen, who is a Senior Associate and Urban Planner at Urban Strategies, talk about the role of urban design in fiction. And if you haven't already, make sure to check out all our social media accounts. Our TikTok and Instagram are tagged at @OneUpToronto, and we also have our website and email listed on this slide. We have a Discord channel as well that you can join to stay up to date with all our latest and upcoming events. Thank you so much for joining our first OneUp Connect webinar, and have a good evening, everyone.